Welcome, everybody, to the very first game of the Los Angeles Angels franchise with the two idiots. Thank you so much for joining Panther and I. We are so excited to get going on this franchise, and today we will begin in Game 1 with Yusei Kikuchi versus Bryce Wilson and the White Sox. It's opening day once again. Welcome, everybody. It's MLB The Show 25. We've got a new game, new year, and a new team. The Los Angeles Angels are now under our direct control. Wow, that's loud. What?
White Sox.
Is this a joke? Who is that person?
Wow.
That was terrible.
That was a little aggressive.
Your
Wow.
Okay.
That was abysmal.
Leading off for the Angels, second baseman Luis Rengifo.
Okay.
Wow, they're going to announce what's happening for us.
Yeah, they're going to just screw the drill right into our ears there. But, yeah, we're going to get this started and see what changes to the show they've made as far as spectating these games. And we've got contact from Rengifo right away, and he will be grounded out at first base. Bryce Wilson with the very first out of the year. Shanawell, she says it different. It's Shawnawell.
Everybody
Right?
says it different.
Oh, boy. Okay, Bryce Wilson misses above the zone. It's opening day, and one of the favorite days of the year for all baseball fans. We can all come together today and be happy that baseball is officially back. And I'm so looking forward to this Angels franchise because we've got so much work to do. I think that in our first franchise, when we picked the Nationals, it was kind of a similar thing. Obviously, they had a lower budget, but they had kind of a young core, and they were still in a full rebuild mode. And Shawnawell lifts that high to right field, but it is brought down for out number 2. So with the Nationals, we faced a similar set of challenges, I would say. With the Cubs, we went a different direction and picked a team that was somewhat competitive, but needed help as well. And we ultimately took them to the World Series and beyond. Now here with the Angels, we discover a team that is not competitive on the major league level. In 2024, they put up the worst franchise record ever. 2024 saw 99 losses for the Angels. That is the worst that they have ever played. And that definitely is the flag that's being waved saying, help us, please. And we saw it. And then we took a deep dive into their farm system. We did the positional previews in that short video. And I think that this has been the most dire need of assistance right now that you and I have dealt with, and he'll strike out there to end the top of the first. Panther, what are your thoughts on that? How do you feel going into this Angels franchise for the first time?
I'm excited as well for what's to come. But you're right. The fact that we took the Nats and they had some young players to work with. They had some guys in the major league level that still were decent. We made trades and we ended up making a decent team. Like you said, Cubs, different story altogether.
And leading off for the White Sox, third baseman Josh Rojas.
Oh my gosh.
Wow. Okay. And now with the fact that we need to rebuild pretty much the entire team, like the entire, like from the MLB right down to A-ball, there's not a lot. So it's going to be awesome to rebuild an entire team and take them. But that 99 losses in 24 is going to be overshadowed by the losses this year, I think.
I think there's a distinct possibility that that's correct. Yes, absolutely. The Angels have famously never... Oh, my gosh. Lady. The Angels famously have never had a 100-loss season. And the closest they've come was last year, 2024, with 99 losses. I think that with what we plan to do in kind of a fire sale, you could describe it, is get rid of a large portion of this major league roster. We're going to be depending on guys that have low potential, low overalls, that we don't have much hope of developing. It's really just kind of a put a body there year, I think, is the best way to describe the game plan for this year. And then we'll slowly start working in prospects into those positions to try to fix this team. We'll snag from free agency when we can. If there's some younger stars that have hit free agency early on in their career. And Kikuchi will get a strikeout for the second strike, or second out, excuse me.
Mike Tuchman.
Oh, dude, we got to do something about this announcer. I can't. I can't.
She's definitely overpowering everything.
She's got all the power.
Yeah, she's got it all. Yeah, as for the win-loss record, 99 was their worst. The two idiots walk in and say, "Hold my beer."
Hold my bat.
Yeah.
Yeah, it might be one of those situations. We'll see. Kikuchi mentioning inside, and it's 1-2.
We're not new to the 100 lost seasons.
No. And another strikeout there for Kikuchi. Will end the first with neither team cracking the hit column.
Leading off for the Angels, the designated hitter, Jorge Soler.
See, that wasn't bad. That sounded like elevator announcing, or like you get on the roller coaster and it's "Hola, buenos dias." Da, 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 da. You know?
Your elevators talk to you in Tampa?
No, a roller coaster.
Oh, roller coaster. We don't roller coaster here.
Oh, and a defensive error in the first game of the year from shortstop. That's awesome. Same old White Sox. All right, Logan O'Hoppe here now as we've got our first base runner on the error.
Ball one.
Watches that one high inside.
Ball one, no strike.
I'm interested to see how O'Hoppe plays for us.
Yeah, I think that, wow, that sounded great, but the timing was off. That was hard hit.
Crack of the bat sounds amazing.
Yeah. And that's another cool thing. Year to year, it's always slightly different, isn't it? And nope, that gives oh my gosh! The White Sox, instead of a double play, launched that one into right field, and that is 2 errors back-to-back for Chicago. The left side of their infield, short and third, both giving up errors back-to-back in the top of the second. Bryce Wilson might murder somebody after this game.
The only way the Angels are going to win a lot of games is if it seems all play like the White Sox.
Well, we've got Angels in the outfield and errors in the infield.
No, that's low.
Let's hope that we can capitalize on these mistakes now. Come on.
Yeah, hopefully.
That's ball 3.
Bryce Wilson can't find the zone as he's behind 3-0 now and gives us our best scoring opportunity to date. And it comes early. And he'll get the call on the sinker inside there. Wow. Opening day pain from the Mets there. The Astros are up 4-0 in the first. And that's a walk, so it is quickly unraveling for Chicago, who should be the worst team in baseball ever this year. We'll see. Swing and a miss from Taylor Ward.
Like I said, the two idiots said, "Hold my beer."
Yeah, yeah, we'll see. We might be competing for the bottom with the White Sox.
That's about all we can do this year, I think.
Yeah. And with the lowered expectations, with us knowing how bad the farm system is, how out of date the current MLB roster is, our measure of success for this season is going to be a lot lower. So I'd like to talk about that if we could.
Sure.
And Ward will not get that fair down the line. So what was your measure of success, do you think? After year one, which we are going to go through rather quickly, what do you think is an acceptable year one? What does that look like to you?
That's an interesting question. I think there's going to be a lot of losses. I mean, there's not a lot to look forward to other than development of prospects we trade for, and hopefully a good draft class. That's a measure of some development of prospects and a good draft class. That's about all we got looking forward to in this first season. I mean, I'd love to see the few guys we do plan on keeping perform well. I'd like to see Neto and O'Hoppe definitely, put up some numbers and play solid ball. But our pitching is garbage. Our minor leagues, except for 1 or 2 outliers, is pretty trash. So development of our prospects that we trade for and a decent draft is about all we got looking forward to, I think, for this season.
Yeah, and I think once we start making our trades and we start filling in our own prospects, it'll become clear what the time frame is to where we start saying, okay, it's about time for us to start having the success now. I think that's probably going to come in year 2 for the most part, but I think there's an outlier possibility of a little bit of success in year 1. I think that if we make these trades from these high-profile guys that we're talking about, our big budget eaters, and we get these highly ranked prospects, somebody's in the 60s, maybe even the 70s, depending on how far along they are, there's guys out there that could immediately help this team get better. And I think the age is the main factor in that. The high budget eaters that we have, as we pointed out in our position preview and overview kind of the Angels roster, we identified guys that were all in their mid to late 30s as the highest paid players. And Moniak will strike out there. And so with that in mind, we get rid of the old guys who are fading and in the 70s or 60s for their ratings, most of them. And we fill that spot with some prospects that are in the 60s or 70s. I think there's absolutely a chance that those prospects perform better than those big budget guys that are fading out.
It's a possibility that we could have some surprise overperformers. We've seen it before. But yeah, I'm not expecting a whole lot out of offense or defense this season. I was hoping we had something there.
It sounded so good.
Yeah, I don't think we got high hopes for much other than some development. And maybe there's going to be 1 or 2 guys that are going to be shining stars. But yeah, I'm looking at 100+ losses, and that's more of a I thought that was going to drop.
Man,
more of just a development year overall. I mean, we could have 1 or 2 surprises, but I don't have high hopes at all.
And leading off for the White Sox, designated hitter, Luis Robert Jr.
Oh, she's terrible.
Ball 1.
I'm so sorry, lady. I don't know who you are. There's probably going to be people that are mad at me for saying that, but I cannot stand it.
No.
That's terrible. It's just the holding out of the note, but not in an excited way. It's not like when we call a home run and we're like, oh! It's literally,
She's
yeah,
got
no, I can't.
A little tiny bit here and there, but yeah, I don't know if it's the tone or the volume, but yeah, it's definitely.
It's both. It's dragging out the monotonous, no excitement, just.
96, first baseman.
See, that sounds better. Nope, there it is.
Yeah,
it's the holding of the notes, the sustain.
If she does our player, she doesn't get the long note. She just announces the name.
And
it's shorter, so it's better. But yeah.
I think this is the White Sox PA announcer. That's probably why. Either way, we tried to fix it in the settings between innings, and the audio settings are locked, so we've just got to deal with it today. Sorry, folks. As Vaughn will lift that high into right field, and it's going to be Trout bringing that in to end the 2nd inning. Quick one here for the Angels.
Leading off for the Angels, second baseman, Luis Rengifo.
Yeah, and that's fine. If we kept it to that. Wow, the crack of the bat, but he's underneath it as he lifts it way high up to center field, and that's a quick first pitch out. And here he is, Nolan Shannawell.
First baseman, Nolan Shannawell.
We are very much acquainted with Nolan. For those that have watched the series for a while, you'll recognize him as well. Definitely hoping for good things from him.
I'd like to see him develop out well. A good, solid, young first baseman. That'd be nice to have.
Yep. No.
Not if he swings a crap like that.
Yeah, you don't need to chop that one inside. Come on, Nolan. No. You don't need to be helping out Bryce Wilson with these. There's no reason that at-bat should have looked like that. That was really ugly. All right, Trout.
Ball in.
Watches that ball inside. To get back to that question, I'll answer my side. I think for me, wow, hard hit, but a dribbler to first base. 93 off the bat, but somehow looked like a weak grounder. I think for me, a successful first year with the Angels is we need to do these trades in such a way that sets us up for the future. And
leading
so
off
I
for the
think
White
choosing
Sox,
the prospects,
center
hang on, I'll
fielder,
let her belt this out.
Michael A. Taylor.
No, ma'am. So I think what's going to determine a successful year for me is how good are the prospects that we are able to gather. Because we've only got one shot at trading these guys, and the leaping throw will get him there. All right, first out here. Good defense. So I think that if we can just get acceptable prospects. Hold on. Oh, he just gets a number.
Say his name. That's rude.
Hard hit to right field, going back and just before the track. That's out number 2. So yeah, if we can get a good batch of prospects that I'm happy with in our only opportunity to trade, then that'll pretty much set the year straight for me, because I know we don't have successful expectations. And so we have to reframe, okay, well, what would be successful, like I asked. And I think that getting good value for the trades, to me, is going to determine whether I'm happy with this year, because the performance is not going to be a factor. We're not going to be able to draft and see guys in the same year. And so the only real meaningful change there, we already perused free agency even, and that was pretty much barren, except for some relievers. So the only real meaningful change that I feel like we can do is trading for prospects in year 1. And so that's really the only factor that we're able to immediately change. That's got to be the measure of success.
Yeah, well, I agree. I mean, it's got to be good prospects, and then so that they develop, and then hopefully our draft class is not like last year's, because that was abysmal.
Oh, Soler goes around on that. Can't hold up on the lunge. Yeah, I'm really excited to see drafting this year, and if it's any better than the dumpster fire that it has been in previous years. I know last year with the Cubs, the free agency was our primary source for pickups and trades as well. We traded a hell of a lot over those 3 years. We never really got to see much out of the draft classes, and they were pretty much terrible, especially in year 3. I think year 3 was clearly the worst year. And that doesn't bode well for like a series that has some legs to it. If we extend the Angels series into 5 years, 6 years, however long we end up going, I would be less confident with every year that we advance into the franchise that the draft class is going to get better.
Yeah, the Cubbies draft class, especially the last year of the draft class, was just abysmal. We couldn't find anybody that, and even the ones we did, their final numbers were garbage.
Third baseman, Yohan Moncada.
So I'm hoping we have a little better options for drafting this year. We can pick up some decent players to develop and to get to it. So and also too, the plan going forward is this first season is going to be quick. We're not going to be spending a lot of time watching games. We're going to be skipping as much as we can to get through it, because this is basically a write-off year as we start a rebuild. There's not going to be a playoff run like we had with the Cubs in the first year.
And leading off for the White Sox.
Right, and then that's going to be, I think, the biggest departure for frequent viewers of the Two Idiots MLB franchises. If you guys watch the Nationals or the Cubs, we like to take our time and really talk about and discuss everything that's happening, both for us to strategize, but also for the viewers to get a peek behind the curtain, so to speak, as to how we view the moves that we make. I think it's important to identify that. And hard hit by Rojas, as that will go into center field. And the White Sox have got a leadoff base runner. So, yeah, I like that we're kind of changing up that formula for the Angels in year 1. Because, like you said, if we're pretty much writing off whatever number, we get for wins and losses, it kind of is what it is. When you have got to force yourself, or this organization rather, to do a fire sale type of thing, you pretty much have to write off the entire year. There's really no other option. And I don't think there's another option for the Angels, because their budget right now, with everything that's contracted and as it stands, they only have about $10 million to work with. And so if you tried to take this team immediately in year 1 to the postseason, you would have to trade these guys anyways, but you'd have to trade them and try to get something better. And I think that would be impossible to do. And so unless you packaged out your entire farm system in 3-to-1 trades over and over again, if you hired from free agency and then try to trade those guys, you could maybe climb that ladder in that way, but that would be such a low probability to do anything meaningful this year, and you'd end up ruining everything else anyways.
Yeah, you'd have no legs of a team if that's the process we took at it. So yeah, definitely the way to go is not worry about wins, losses, not worry about anything but development, prospects, and hopefully a draft class that we can look forward to. Because that was our disappointment, like you said, with the Cubs, was we had some guys that in the minors that we developed, we never got to see any potential because by the time we got through 3 seasons, it was a whole year gone by in real life, and it was time for 2025 to come out. And since you can't continue on with your franchise, which they fucking need to bring back, we missed out on potential opportunities to see those young players do something. So that's why I want to do something different with this one, is to speed run kind of the first season for you guys. I mean, it's going to take us a lot of work to make trades and, drafting and stuff, but you guys aren't going to see all that. It'll be pretty quick for you fellas. So, yeah, hopefully in second season we can kind of stretch it out, get a little bit more time in it than we did with the Nats and the Cubs. And then by hopefully year 3, we're kind of back in our similar, doing a lot of simming still, but actually maybe pick up and watch a game or two. Because we got away from that with the Cubs because we were trying to get through the year.
Yeah, it became a rush because MLB 25 was coming out shortly. So
I don't want to handcuff ourselves and put us in the position where we can't watch any of our players develop. So
hard line drive from Sosa into center field will score the first runner of the game, and it goes for the White Sox. And men on the corners now with 2 outs for Kikuchi.
So they had 2 errors, and they ended up walking and giving us a bases-loaded situation, and we got nothing out of it.
Yeah.
So we have not committed any errors, and yet now Chicago, the White Sox are winning. This is amazing.
Yeah, this has been a wild ride so far. Kikuchi has pitched pretty well. He's gotten a fair amount of strikeouts as well, but the ball's just landing where they're not for the White Sox. And that's hit high up into right field. Trout running, and he's there. And we'll end the 4th with only 1 run allowed through, but still seeking our first hit. Now, it doesn't work the opposite way, right? When I call a no-hitter, normally, it's the worry that I'm going to ruin the no-hitter. Is me speaking about us not getting hits the opposite way to where I'm guaranteeing that we're doing a no-hitter? How does that work?
Let's try it.
Nope.
We're not going to get any damn hits.
I'm not superstitious, but I'm a little stitious, and I know that we shouldn't talk about things that are special when they happen. But what about when it's happening to us? That part I don't know.
1 strike.
I have no idea. I'm scared.
Bryce Wilson has had to work a lot. That was pitch number 66 so far to begin the 5th, and it's 2-2 against Taylor Ward. And hit down the foul line near third base.
He just hired that third base coach. Don't kill him yet.
Fouls that one off as well.
And speaking of the coaching staff, you guys didn't see it, but when we went through the coaching staff, there was so many negatives.
That sounded great. Taylor Ward to center field to the track.
Oh!
And it's out of here. 417 feet for Taylor Ward over center field. The furthest back wall, and it clears it. That's awesome.
Nice.
We're back to a tie ball game.
Awesome. I thought we were going to get a home run in the first game, but I figured it was going to be Trout.
Yeah, that was great. Nope, it's our 7-hitter. That's awesome. Moniak will watch strike 2. A cutter on the outside.
Ball that close.
He'll hold back on that. I don't feel like Bryce Wilson's going to be in this game for very much longer. And a weak little grounder past the diving third baseman, and Moniak is safe at first base.
Now batting, shortstop Zach Neto.
And there it is.
The White Sox. Number 64.
Shane Smith.
Oh my God.
He just got a number. He's another no-namer for them.
Yeah, weird.
Weird.
It's not a difficult name.
Yeah. All right, 2025 projected war leaders down on the bottom of the screen on the ticker there. What? There's no Angels. What do you mean?
Yeah.
Never mind, Shohei's there. Yeah, I don't expect to see us on the top of any list, really. Not for a long time.
I'm predicting Luis Ariza hit 323. I'm glad
Wow.
he hit 300.
Ball.
As a
One
Jays
ball,
fan,
two
I'll
strikes,
take glad he
Miguel.
hit 300 all day long.
Yeah, I know you will.
I hope he's hitting 325 this year is what I want to see.
Nope. Outside.
Yep. 2-2 to Zach Neto as Shane Smith is working the count. And that one will go foul over into right field. I like that we've seen some long at-bats. We had one, as we were talking earlier, that had like 9 or 10 pitches. I
Wow.
don't remember who it was to, but yeah, long at-bats so far.
The worst thing is, too, we don't get a measure for the team either in day one because we're playing against the White Sox, right? So, I mean, if we win, okay, but if we lose against the White Sox day one, that's definitely massive red flags, right? But
Yeah.
to perform against a team that's rated worse than we are, not much to gauge on the team performance. So this game does not hold a lot of stock, really.
Well, it doesn't, but I think that there is somewhat of a metric because we look at the roster. We did our positional preview, which I'll continue to call back to because that's where all the important information was established, really. So if you guys haven't watched that video, go back and watch the position previews and the roster breakdowns. We talk about why this team needs so much help. And so I think that there is a sense that we can kind of calibrate an opinion against the White Sox because they're supposed to be such a bad team. So if our A-list opening day roster featuring Trout, all these other guys that are chewing up these budgets, if those guys can't perform well against the White Sox of all people, then that guarantees that what we're saying is correct, I think. And there's a lot of baseball that you have to take, and give some time to breathe to. Rengifo will get a bloop over into left field while we're talking there. So 2 men on with 1 out. But what I mean is, if this opening day roster for the Angels cannot beat the White Sox, and we see sloppy play, lack of control, bad fielding, bad at-bats, and stuff like that, I think it just reinforces exactly why in day 2, most of these guys will be gone. You know what I mean? So there is some measure of, how do we do? Just purely for the fact of, somebody could say we're wrong about these aging guys. That, oh, no, 33 is still fine. 35, even if they're performing well, leave them in there, Hold them till the wheels fall off. There's going to be some people that think like that. But with you and I thinking more long-term, and again, we've already established and gone over all the reasons that we're going to be doing the fire sale. I think that a bad game here is just more convincing than anything else on why this team needed it. And even if they perform well, all of that information is still solid, as Shawnuel will line drive into left center field, drive home 2, and get a 1-out double, as we're talking about. So 3-1 now for the Halos. But do you know what I mean? Does that make sense? Even if we perform well, that's kind of just a bonus. But if we perform poorly, that's solidifying. Does that make sense?
I agree. I mean, it's definitely, like I said, if we can't pull off a win, against the worst team, then yeah, there's definitely, it solidifies our statement of, fire sales required. I mean, the only thing
a win here is meaningless other than just, hell, cool, nice to win opening day.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what the kind of the point. Yeah, that's exactly it. So this game is it's more just to get a look, get opening day, because I mean you can't skip opening day.
No, you gotta watch opening day.
Yeah. So I mean, this is why we're here, and this is why you're here. This is why everyone's here to watch this. So also to the how we came to pick the Angels is a bit of a funny story. It was funny enough because I talked to my wife and I said, we're not sure what team we're going to pick. And my wife just said Red Sox out of nowhere. And I was like, interesting. And I mentioned to you that, Michelle had said, hey, Red Sox right off the bat, right? It was her kind of idea. And we kind of looked at it, and it was like, okay, there's a little bit of viability to that. And so we narrowed it down, and the rule was no Orioles, no Blue Jays, because that's each of our teams.
Right.
No Tampa Bay, because you've done the Tampa Bay one on your channel last year. I was like, for last year's game. And it's like, well, we both hate the Yank meets. And so that eliminates everybody but the American League East except for Boston. And I'm not a Red Sox fan, but I don't hate them like I do the Yank meets. So I could look past it and go for Boston. And then it was like we went to the Central. A lot of teams in the Central are actually doing pretty decent, except for the White Sox, and we weren't taking the White Sox. So that
be way too common.
Yeah, and that put us over into the American League West, which I don't like Texas and I don't like Houston. So we looked at possibility of Seattle, and then you mentioned the Angels. So almost right off the bat, it became a 2-horse race between the Mariners and the Red Sox.
Yeah.
And so we got the game. The game came out, and we had a little conversation, and we were looking at the teams and looking at the breakdowns of the rankings, etc., of each team, and the rosters a little bit to look what we had to work with. And the fact that the Mariners have a decent high rank because they have some amazing pitching, and they even still have some decent defenders and a few guys that can hit. They have a pretty solid team with a little minimal guys down in the minors that'll come up. Boston has a serviceable team this year and also a few prospects.
Yeah, they should be competitive.
And then you looked at the Angels, and it was a complete train wreck. And you
absolutely different story.
And you kind of jokingly said Angels, and I'm like, no fucking way. I thought you were shitting me. I thought you were just like, yeah, let's just do the Angels as a joke, but realistically, we were going to take one of the other two teams. And the more we talked about it, it was more leaning to Boston.
The White Sox.
Okay, we're finished.
Michael A. Taylor.
Okay. So yeah, it was coming down. I'm pretty sure I was almost to the point where I made starting to make thumbnails for the Seattle Mariners and the Boston Red Sox, because those were the 2 horses in the lead. As we done the breakdown, as we chatted after this game came and looked at, and that was a strike. It's called the ball. Umpires are still blind in 2025.
Ball, that's in.
And so when you broke it down and we talked about it, I was way off board. I was taking a cab in the opposite direction to you. But the more we talked about it, the more we decided to change up how we do things and how we plan to approach the rebuild. I get out of that cab and got an Uber and chased you down. Pulled you over and got in the cab with you, and now we're riding together to the ball field.
Yeah, to the Big A.
Yeah. But yeah, it was so funny how we were so almost dead set on Boston and then completely flipped and took the Angels. So it's awesome. I am looking forward to this.
Yeah, and I love that story, and I'm glad that you told it, because I feel like a peek into the process is a really cool thing to do. And I did the same thing with my wife. I told her actually last night, as of this recording, we're recording this in the morning, but last night I talked to her and I was like, hey, you're probably going to hear me talking during the recording, and so there's not going to be any way to avoid spoiling who the team is. She wanted to wait and see. But I said, you're probably going to hear it, so I'm going to go ahead and tell you. And so I told her we were picking the Angels, and she was like, okay, interesting. And I was like, it is, but I would love to tell you why if you'll let me. And so she's so wonderful. She let me do it. Uh-oh, steal attempt, the throw, and we got him! That's out number 2. All right, so she's so wonderful because she's so supportive, and she was like, yeah, go ahead, tell me. And so I went into the game, and I started breaking down the rosters. And I did a full breakdown on the Boston Red Sox and the Seattle Mariners, and she's like, yeah, they do need help. So I was like, yeah, they're supposed to be competitive, probably this year, maybe next year for Seattle. But I think Boston has got a shot this year to be highly competitive. They've got a good lineup. Their pitching is pretty good. I think the case for Boston and Seattle was very similar, is that, yes, they can be competitive this year, but their farm system is in shambles. And so it was going to be that kind of a rebuild. But when we look over at the Angels, as we have done, and we did our full breakdown, we looked at them and realized how much more in trouble the Angels were, because they don't have a competitive roster right now, and the farm system is gone. It's not one of two things going right, or one of three, or whatever. Everything is going wrong for the Angels right now, and it's kind of hard to understand why. Because the Angels, for a long time struggled. They're famously a team that, for their franchise record, comes in under 500. And so they've struggled for just about the entirety of their career. I would say the heyday for the Angels was in the mid-2000s up to the early 2010s. That's kind of the sweet spot for LA, and when they were able to be most successful. Of course, their 2002 World Series win, their only win in the World Series, is a little removed from that. But I feel like that's really when the franchise for the Angels was really hitting its stride, and it figured out what it wanted to do. And then something changed after about 2014, 2015 for them, and they've kind of gone back. And even in that time frame after 2015, when they had future Hall of Famers like Mike Trout and Shohei Ohtani, they had two juggernauts of the sport, two guys that produce higher than almost anybody in their positions offensively, and they still were not able to put it together. And that's because there's more than two guys on the field. You can't put all your money or all your stock on just a couple position players, or even a pitcher or two, or whatever. It's a team effort, and it's a team sport. And I think the Angels represented why it's a team sport, because even with Trout and Ohtani, they could not get it done. And then now in 2024, they had their worst season ever with 99 losses. We're back to under 500 baseball. The prospect situation looks incredibly grim. The farm system's in shambles, and our aging roster is on the way out the door and not able to compete anymore either. The wheels have completely fallen off of the Los Angeles Angels train, and I think that they were the most compelling case, despite having a World Series win, which the Seattle Mariners don't. I think that they were the most compelling case for the rebuild, because it's going to take a lot of work. And I think that between you and I, we're up for the task.
Yeah, like I said, it's so much funny too. And after that conversation where we said the Angels were it, and I went up and I told my wife, I said, we've decided what team, and she just looked at me, I said, Angels. She says, don't ever ask me for advice again. Jokingly,
That's
of course.
fantastic.
Jokingly, of course. But it was so great. Your wife was like, oh, please tell me more. My wife's like, hey, fuckers.
You idiots.
Yeah, well, hey, true to form.
That's on brand.
Yeah, definitely 100%. But yeah, it's awesome that the wives are supportive and behind us as well. And all the fans. Like, there was I put out a post on YouTube mentioning the fact that with the transition from 24 to 25, there'd be a drop in videos for at least a week and stuff like that. And I also asked, what team you think we're going to pick. And this is even before we had locked in our actual final pick. We had the two, possibly three teams idea. And one individual stated the Pirates. And I was like, well, interesting idea there. I do like the idea of the Pirates as well, but we wanted to go American League because the last two were National League teams. And then one individual said White Sox. He said go the opposite side of Chicago and take the White Sox. And it's like, unfortunately, everybody else will likely be rebuilding the White Sox. So that was kind of the reason why we didn't take them. But yeah, I mean, it was nice to see some engagement. And like I said, the Pirates are an interesting team as well. They're kind of in the same boat as the Angels. I mean, they have a couple younger guys that definitely to build around for sure with Skeens and O'Neill Cruz. But after that, they do get a little thinner. They still have a good third baseman, and they have a couple guys in the minors that are good prospects. But yeah, they are definitely a good team to rebuild as well. But I think the fire sale of the Angels is going to be a blast. I can't wait to pull this team apart.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun, and I think that Angels fans, if we have any that are watching this series, if you've come newly to the Two Idiots franchise, we do things a little off the cuff here and off filter, so we've been talking, I would say, somewhat professionally throughout the beginning of this video and in Game 1, in our breakdowns and all that, so you haven't quite seen the stupidity yet, but believe me, it's coming. It's inevitable. Oh, Lord, it's coming. So we do things just a little bit differently here in the Two Idiots franchise. And I think that if you guys are open to that journey, to doing the fire sale and starting over, if our reasoning makes sense, as Shonawell will line that laser beam into center field and we will score another one. 5-1 Angels now. If you guys are open to that idea that, okay, this team really does need a complete reset button, you accept the fact that their aging roster is not going to get it done for them, and we've run out of time on those stars, then the fire sale becomes the only viable option for Los Angeles Angels. And so if we can go from there and you guys can accept that line of logic and reasoning and hop on for the ride, I promise you we're going to make it as entertaining as possible, but we are going to really try to get this team going. And Trout will bloop into right field, and that's going to score at least one more. And with 2 outs, Chicago is in even deeper crap.
Now
6-1.
Designated hitter Jorge Soler.
Rebuild complete.
Rebuild complete, baby. We don't need it. No, absolutely not. We should be winning this game 6-1 right now. And Soler will lift that deep into left field, and it's gone! 390 feet. A 3-run blast by Soler. And exactly what you would hope for. Any team should be performing like this against the White Sox. Eater. Oh, I was going to say Eder. Okay. Eater, I hardly know her.
Yeah. Please wait till the second date's over.
0-1's the count.
Wow. So 9 runs have come across now for the Angels, and that's a good opening day.
Yeah, very good opening day.
We're going to end this game and say, great job, boys. Well done, everybody. You're fired.
How many general manager go in after crushing a team 9-1 on opening day and go, you're being traded, you're being traded, you're being traded.
We're going to make a call to the owner here at the 7th inning stretch and tell him, hey, you watching the game? He's going to say, yeah, I'm watching the game. Good job, guys. Yeah, hey, listen, just got to tell you something real quick. They're all getting fired. We're trading everybody. So you want to say goodbye, make some phone calls now. Leave a note in the locker room. Have somebody drop off a hot towel for Logan O'Hoppe. Whatever you want to do. But it needs to be done today.
Yeah.
A lot of these guys are going to go.
Yeah. If you have any love for these guys and you want to say goodbye to them, if you're not at the ballpark, you better get out of the fucking jet and get here.
Yeah. You better parachute into center field before the 9th wraps up.
I already got my scissors sharper, man. The cutter's fucking back.
The Canadian cutter is back. And Moncada to center field. I don't think that's quite got the steam, no. And that is a long 3rd out. But wow, 9-1 as we will enter the bottom of the 6th.
And leading off for the White Sox, left fielder
Benintendi.
Andrew Benintendi.
Now, the way she says his last name is good.
It's great.
It's
the only problem I
first
have
part.
with it is the long drawn-out notes.
Yeah.
Yeah. That sustain is just awful.
Put the rasp on the last name, but shorten your drag on the first. It'll definitely be a lot better.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Held off there. Kikuchi's look pretty good.
Yep. Gucci's a boss, man.
Yep. Still got it with that circle change, and that's strikeout number 6.
In real life, his last season with the Jays, he was pitching well. And then he went to Houston, man. He was dominating. He was so awesome to see him pitch well, but unfortunately for a team I don't like. So,
Yeah.
I hope he pitches well for the Angels this year. I do like him. He's a really great guy.
Yeah, I hope he's got something left in the tank. I think he will be good for another couple years, probably. Like, realistically.
Yeah, I hope so.
I don't think we're going to see it in the game. But
No, he's as soon as he's tradable, he's probably going to be traded. But
wow, and that's strikeout number 7.
Up next for the White Sox, designated hitter Luis Robert Jr.
My
yeah,
gosh.
the first name.
Can't believe they don't allow us to turn the volume down on the broadcaster.
in mid-game. Yeah, it's a little
Yeah.
odd. You know,
Like, that's where you identify the problem. Like, oh, crap, this is too loud, which is impossible to know until you get into a game, as we found out.
Yeah.
And then once you're in the game, when you would most be likely to make that change, they don't let you do it. And wow, strikeout number 8 for Kikuchi to end the bottom of the 6th.
Leading off for the Angels. We'll
get back to Taylor Ward. I feel like it's also great for us on opening day here with the intent to have a fire sale. Is there's not much of a need. Oh wow, yeah, still the White Sox. There's confirmed. Same team, different year. How many times do we see that? The outfielders flailing for something and just not getting it. 3 guys over in a 5-foot radius and they can't get the ball.
It's like Little League.
Classic. Anyways, there's less of an onus on calling and talking about specific players here in Game 1, simply for the fact that most of them will be gone here shortly. And so that's kind of allowed us to expand on our thoughts and our ideas for the franchise here in Game 1. So I feel like this is, despite the game being relatively meaningless, I think the commentary and the peek behind the scenes of our thoughts are definitely worth having the full opening day game. Absolutely. Pontiac flies out for the first out.
Now batting, shortstop Zach Neto.
0 for 3 in the day. Come on, Zach. You want to stay on the Angels?
This is audition day.
Yeah, you were one of the guys we were wanting on the team. Now I see why you're batting 9.
Oh, jeez. Top of the 7th with an 8-run lead. I wonder how far they're going to let Kikuchi go.
I know, the computer likes to leave people in forever, so...
Sure does.
I got 3 in a row.
Eater missing 3 in a row. And he'll get that circle change in. No green light for Zach Neto with an 8-run differential. I probably would let everybody swing at that. And he'll get that one either way, but wow, 109 deep to left field. That had the distance, but not the trajectory as it flies foul. And a weaker contact, and this one will stay in fair, but it's to the left fielder for out number 2.
Like that shot in the background, you see the 2 guys up in the bullpen there. It's neat.
Now batting,
shot.
Second baseman, Luis Rengifo.
Right, Rengifo with 2 outs and a man on as the lineup turns over for perhaps the last time. It's a high fly out into right field stands.
Way to go, White Sox, she says.
I feel like that was sarcastic.
Yeah, I was just going to say, it sounded a little sarcastic. Way to go. You notice the fans aren't waving their white towels anymore, eh?
Well, they ought to wave the white towel to signal surrender. It's 9-1.
They're waving them right at the first of the game. I'm thinking, you guys think this is a fucking playoff game? Now they're just sitting down going, why did we come here again?
Well, and that's what happens with the White Sox, unfortunately. And to respond back to further, as well as you were talking and telling the story about identifying teams, and you had mentioned the White Sox as one of the options that somebody commented. Of course, the White Sox were absolutely in consideration because they obviously need a rebuild. They need help. They were famously the worst team in baseball in the modern era last year, and they could be even worse this year. They could be the worst team of all time ever fielded in Major League Baseball. Very real chance of that. So obviously they need help. But as Panther had said and mentioned and alluded to, I think that most rebuilds that you're going to see among YouTube channels are going to feature the bottom 3 teams in the rankings. And of course, the White Sox are down there. But I think that part of what you and I bring to the table with our 2 idiots MLB franchises, at least, is a split between professionalism and absolute goofiness and stupidity. And that kind of franchise owners, if you would say it that way, I think that the Chicago White Sox would be much more like you would need to be professional for most of it. So, like, that's a point away from it, I think, because they truly do need so much help. But it's going to be just very common, you know, for people to pick the White Sox. And I don't want to do what everybody else is doing. I want to do something that's unique to us. And I think that our reasoning for picking the Angels, wow, Taylor lifts that deep to left field, and that might have the distance, and it does! Chicago with a solo shot from Michael Taylor, and the fireworks are out.
Oh, I thought maybe that was going to be the end of Kikuchi. You had asked when he was going to be gone. But
Yeah.
I guess we're leaving him in.
Still got 7 runs padding that difference there.
True.
But, I don't want to pick a team that everyone else is going to do. I want our brand, the Two Idiots franchise, I feel like we could pick anybody and we could still have fun with it. But our unique brand of MLB rebuilds, I think, is best served.
Oh!
Wow! The dive slide in left field to end it. Yeah, that's replay worthy right there. Full-on Superman. And love the dirt effects there. That was great.
That
was nice.
First baseman.
Oh, man.
Nolan Shannon.
But, I think it's easy to pick the worst team. And a lot of people are going to do that. So ultimately, long story long, I want to pick somebody that was more of an unorthodox or outlier team. And I feel like the Angels fit in so well with that kind of mentality because, the Angels should be, I think, an unexpected pick for a lot of people. Like, who wants to play as the Angels? Who wants to do that rebuild? Is that exciting? A lot of people would say no. But I think it's, as we've spelled out, in several instances now, extraordinarily compelling to pick the Angels for a lot of different reasons. And I'm very hyped, and I think that we're going to have a ton of fun doing this series. This is going to be great.
Yeah, I mean, like we've seen, the White Sox being picked, the Rockies being picked, the Marlins being picked. Like Oakland was always a big pick the last couple of seasons or iterations of the show.
The usual suspects.
Right, so even the White Sox that were been talked about for the last season in like 24 as well, to get my words straight. So yeah, I mean it's definitely not really way out in left field to take the Angels because they are ranked like 22 overall. But yeah, I mean there's probably other people who are going to be doing the same, rebuilding bottom teams and looking at other options and not wanting to pick everybody else's team. So I mean with the Angels, yeah, it definitely gives us a different look. And it's a complete rebuild for us. Like, there's really nobody outside of, like, 2 or 3 guys that we really want to keep. And that includes the minors. And that's scary.
Very scary. Yeah.
Now that the designated.
And I think that's why, like I said at first, when you said the Angels, and you're like, let's do it. And I was, like, getting in the cab going the other way, is because I was like, it's fucking scary. But then, like, the more I think about it, yeah, like, we were wanting to have that experience. We want to go in and, seat of our pants. And also to let you know, we didn't, or we are not locked into getting fired in the 3 years or the contract thing. We didn't do that just because we know the first 2 years are probably going to be rough.
Ball 2.
Yeah. In our other franchises, the Nationals and the Cubs, we did enable the contracts for GMs. So where every 3 years we would be evaluated and possibly fired. But yeah, great point to bring that up. I had forgotten to mention that. Exactly, is that we know the first 3 years might be the absolute worst, and it should be the worst for us. So yeah, we definitely don't want to get fired in the middle of that rebuild, and hopefully by year 3 we start to get a firm grip on Los Angeles and can perform at a level to where we wouldn't have to worry about our job anyways. But yeah, we did disable that, so full disclosure on that part.
For the White Sox.
Yeah, the thing is too is I'm not worried if we have to keep, not really, I'm not going to call it a speed run, but the quicker format for the first 3 years. If it takes us into, cresting out of 3rd year into 4th year to actually have a competitive team, I'd like to keep the format at a quicker pace to get us there. I do want to build a fucking dominating team, and I want to build one that can make the playoffs. That's going to get there, not barely scrape in. Well, hopefully that last game of the year they can scrape a win to get into a wild card. I want to be pushing for a spot every year after, the rebuild. I want to be a threat every time our players are on the mound or at the plate. I don't want to just kind of limp into the playoffs. I want to be a dominating team. So this is why, I'm not scared if we got to burn 3 seasons to rebuild this team. I'm not scared to do that. I would rather do that than limp in and then wait for 26 to be coming out and us not have a rebuilt team. So
yeah, and I think that's realistic as far as the expectations because of how bad the farm system is. It's going to depend largely on who we can get trading for prospects, and then, yes, the draft buildup is going to be extremely important, more so than ever here with our third team and our third franchise. And that also kind of worries me, though, because scouting is one of the worst aspects of the show. It's given us problems every single year, and there's problems that still come back year to year that have not been resolved by San Diego studios. So it's going to be very interesting to see how scouting and drafting and all that stuff works this year. I hope it's better. I really do, but my expectation is very minimal for that.
Batting.
Same for me.
Left fielder, Andrew Benintendi.
That's one of the unfortunate aspects with the show is there's a lot of things that are just kind of, it is what it is. You know, between wiping minor league stats every single year, which is absolute insanity, to even more egregious things to where you can scout guys for, you know, several weeks, get them 100% scouted, and then on draft day, they're not there. They disappear.
Yeah, that's some frustration for sure. So I'm hoping we've kind of learned the lower ranked guys to not spend time scouting on them. So hopefully we can avoid some of that issues. But it's the two idiots. I mean, if you're looking for a flawless run here, you're not getting it.
Yeah, no.
0-1.
You got to find another channel right now if that's the case.
But if you want to sit back and watch two guys that enjoy the game and have fun playing this and have fun doing this for YouTube and for anyone who wants to join the ride, please sit back and enjoy. And feel free to lightly mock us in the comments. You know, we're not here. We're not professional ball players. We're not statisticians. You know, we're not going to break the game down the way other players do. We're here for fun and hopefully to entertain. So strap in and enjoy the ride with the two idiots.
Absolutely correct and well said. Yeah, we're just pretty much just two guys that love baseball and have a little bit too much time on our hands.
Pretty much it.
Big swing and a miss. And Eater gets strikeout number 4. They're just going to let him eat up the rest of this game.
That's why he's named Eater.
Yep.
He eats innings. It's his job and his
Eats
name.
innings. That's it. And that's a cutter at the top of the zone for strike 1.
That was a good pitch right at the top.
It was.
Ball inside.
It's probably one of the best pitches that Eater has thrown this game.
He's got an all right curveball at times, too.
Yep. Wow. He has been hit hard, though. I mean, no shortage of long shots, and that's another one. Mokata is out for the second out of the inning. And Taylor Ward steps in as the final out for Los Angeles in Game 1. Opening day nearly over.
Yeah.
And that's a good four-seamer right at the top of the zone.
Ball.
Normally, in our other franchises, we take early predictions on who's going to be breakout stars, who's going to have the best year, all those kinds of things. Then that, of course, is going to be impossible here with the Angels franchise, as there's no telling who is going to survive the cutting that is coming. There's just no way to have any idea right now, other than I would say a few key players, maybe 2 or 3 of them who are an absolute lock. Nolan Shonowell, Logan O'Hoppe. There's probably a couple other guys, but I think that by and large, almost nobody should feel safe after the end of this game. And so I won't ask for a prediction here. I think we'll probably have to wait for a couple years in order to get those predictions. But definitely not happening on opening day here.
No, because I don't want to predict so-and-so have a good year, and then we trade him, and then all of a sudden he has a great year for somebody else.
Yeah.
Now
Garrett McDaniels has looked pretty good, actually, through his play that we've seen so far.
Robert Jr.
Not a guy that I'm familiar with, and that's going to be the story for a lot of these Angels players. I am not going to be familiar with a lot of them, and that's a hard line drive, and that goes right to Mike Trout. Just a few feet over to his right, and that's out number 2.
Second baseman, Lenny Sosa.
Lenny, Lenyn is Lenny?
No idea. That's hard hit. The dive at second base, and it gets past him. So a 2-out single by Sosa to keep the White Sox alive.
Up next for the White Sox.
Maybe it's not Lenny.
First
Maybe it's
baseman,
Lenine.
Andrew.
We just couldn't hear the N at the
Vaughn.
end of the first name.
Maybe.
Lenine. And that's popped up. Vaughn behind the plate, and that will do it. The White Sox have dropped opening day in a 9-2 loss. The Angels triumphant against a team that we expected to be so. So a great win in opening day. Love the Game 1 victory. Celebrate. Say your goodbyes. Akuchi gets the win. Good for you. And here we go. Sharpen the blade. The cutter's coming.